So I don't think this video will get an insane amount of views, and while I planned on making this for a while, I really just don't want to right now. But I think I'm going to make it anyway because I want to share the experience for those of you guys who maybe already quit Wrath and for me to look back on from the future. There are always endless excuses to fall back on and things that get in the way of your success when you're trying to parse, but you just have to give it your best shot anyway. Last phase, not a whole lot went wrong other than I didn't really expect to be playing combat. Because of the gargoyle meta, all unnecessary classes were exchanged for unholy death knights, and rogues were only brought as combat for savage combat and expose armor. My gear was very suboptimal and I didn't really know what I was doing, but still my guild showed up and I was able to be carried to rank 21. I was aiming to do a lot better this phase, and this time around I was able to get almost full bis, besides unfortunately missing one of my trinkets, but I really did my homework this time on the actual gameplay and was prepared. But since we still had lots of replacements and fills throughout the phase, we really only gave it our all in the last 2 weeks, and that's where our story begins. With a lot higher item level, Flame Leviathan became a complete joke, and I raided so much that I learned every single role in every single vehicle. Can't say I'll miss this fight though. Razor Scale was always a little bit tricky, but in the second to last week I was able to get some great RNG, which replaced my okay-ish previous best parse of around 250 with a 75 parse. When it comes to burst fights like these, your RNG matters a lot. We dragged one of the dwarves out of the AoE from me and the Feral Druid to pre-stack some combo points before going in on Razor Scale. And over time, vanishing the knockback was extremely easy and consistent to perform, so this fight wasn't ever really all that challenging. When it came to Ignis, there was a mix of opinions on whether we should reset the boss or not. Not resetting allows the casters to precast. In the second to last week, I got slag potted, and since we have like one healer or something, I instantly died. Then in the last week, we had multiple deaths due to underhealing, and so we force wiped it. On the next pull, we killed it, and I was slag potted once again, which made me unable to replace my previous best parse, which was mediocre around 150. When it came to XT a while ago, I had a pretty okay parse in the low hundreds, but it since decayed to 550. Not even in the top 1 percentile. As combat does significantly more damage to the heart on this boss than any other spec, our combats were instructed to sandbag and not use our cooldowns on these at all the last 2 weeks. We went to Algalon next and greedily attempted even more underhealing, which caused multiple wipes. Many weeks ago, a padding strategy was discovered where the tank would place the boss on the spawn position of a star, allowing melee to cleave it instantly when it spawned. This allowed combat rogues that use this strategy to get 50 to 100k Blade Flurry damage added to their parse. For some reason, in this last week, we started replacing people left and right, and with our Fury Warrior's computer exploding, we brought in someone's 4.5k Fury Warrior ult for commanding shout and unrelenting attacks. The raid DPS loss was nothing to be happy about, however, the warrior did offer to sunder, which is great news for me. This is also the start of the bosses where pre-stacking combo points with spec starts to become mandatory and extremely annoying. Second to last week, I did have to expose Kolagarn, and I wasn't able to pre-stack combo points in time because we pulled the boss really fast, but I still beat my previous best 17k DPS with 18.1, and on this last week I topped that with 18.9. I did have to expose twice at the end despite having this warrior because he accidentally died from taunting the boss. No, I'm not joking, that actually happened. And when it comes to Ariea, most of the raid allows only one person to pad damage from the cats, but with no one really caring at this point, we just sent it and blew the cats up immediately. I invented some last minute new tech by pre-stacking my combo points on the Titan Keeper trash in front of Memron's hallway, allowing me to start the fight with a full slice and dice. And even padding as much as I could on the cats, I only beat my previous best by 1 DPS. Kinda just shows how extremely dumb this fight is. Just being allowed to hit the cats and then live as long as possible will instantly get you a great parse regardless of your skill. Also pretty much a requirement to kill her in only 1 fear. Still, my mediocre 13k parse only really cost me a few all-star points, maybe 4 at the most. After that I did the Memron trash skip, which at this point is honestly just kinda relaxing for me. I stacked so many movement speed increases that I don't even need to be summoned to Hodier. Thorm was about as good as you can expect from a raid with multiple fills. Nothing good happened, but also nothing bad. My previous parse was around a 150, but these pure single target bosses really need the crit RNG to be optimized over multiple weeks, and so not having that and missing a Comet's Trail, this is about as good as I can expect. Now for Freya. Oh god, Freya. If you don't have a vomit bag next to you, I would highly suggest pausing the video and going to get one right now. It's no secret that zero staging Freya is absolutely mandatory, and this is disproportionately true for combat rogues. Burst to target is one of combat and rogues in general's only strength, and as a result, this will literally double your DPS on this fight. The second to last week, we spent multiple hours re-rolling and attempting this, and we maybe got 4 or 5 shots on a conservative first pull, but the mushroom positioning really just wasn't kind to us at all. We did have a 6% wipe where the tree full healed Freya, which was just sad to see. It would have been a great kill. Burst and Cleave has a lot of variance in it, and so even if you're able to pull this off, you really want to do it multiple times so that way you can get the best possible results. It can really range from 11 to 18k DPS, spiking at 25k DPS during your cooldown window, and then hopefully burning her down before it averages out too hard. Oh yeah, and did I mention that pre-stacking combo points on every single one of these attempts was the most cancer garbage I've ever seen in my entire life. I honestly want to make a whole video just raging about this. In addition to having your healer stack combo points for you, you want to remove your passive trinkets or swap them so that they have 10 seconds left on their cooldown when you pull, so that way they come up right as the conservator spawns and we're in position. This is a really common method that you should also take advantage of on things like XT Heart. Since we didn't get it on the second to last week, that means that we absolutely had to get it this last one. But after hours and hours of rerolling, respecking, critting with heals, running across the rooms for mushrooms, we did not actually get it. We had less than an hour to clear the rest of the raid, and we just made the call to kill her normally. Because this strategy literally doubles your DPS, if not more, even though I had a great Freya parse earlier on in the phase, which was around a rank 10, it was a 4th wave kill, which is around 9.7k DPS at most. Being under 10k is completely unacceptable. Rank 1 is currently 17.2k. And since the difference between those two numbers is so big, that cost me 53 all-star points. Yeah, remember the numbers that I said earlier, 3 or 4, maybe 10? Yeah, this is 53. No, I'm not joking. This was the nail in the coffin. Not only that, it completely decimated the raid's morale for the rest of the night. And with 4 other bosses left in the raid, we just wanted to get it done with and get the loot at this point. We went to Mimron, which was my boss with the worst parse by far. I had an okay-ish 250 parse earlier on in the phase, but since it's decayed to about 800. I was furiously typing to multiple people and I wasn't paying attention at all. I didn't pre-stack combo points and I didn't change my glyphs when we pulled. I hardly even noticed that we pulled. And the glyph of Phantom Knives is an absolute requirement on this boss due to phase 4. Despite griefing myself, I played pretty well and grabbed a 250 parse even without the glyph of Fan and still having Wrathstone on. So I was only taxed around 8 to 10 all-star points instead of potentially more here. We killed Vizax while I was alt-tabbed almost the entire time, and we one-lighted Yogg because almost nobody cared at this point. I had a pretty fine Yogg, being 25 when I first got it and now decaying to around 50. Yogg 0 is another breakpoint fight. In order to shorten the fight, you have to have melee kill the brain in one phase, which can have some RNG around it based on which brain room you get. Every time we executed this strategy, I didn't pad on the Immortal Guardians in phase 3. I just single-targeted Yogg and used my cooldowns on the brain instead of the P3 ads. I assumed later on in the phase we would get more comfortable with the strategy and I would have some attempts at actually padding here, but just like Ignis, sometimes you get screwed over and that just doesn't happen. When we returned to Iron Council, I once again did not even bother pre-stacking. We got fine at RNG on the runes and I played it pretty well, but my crit RNG just didn't show up. I was about 100 DPS off my previous best, but still there was a lot of room for improvement for me here. Day after the raid, which is when I'm recording this, my overall parse was updated to a 77. Earlier in the phase I had maintained around a 20 and then decayed to around 50-ish, but after the 0 stage Freya was implemented, that fell to a 90. Obviously, my overall number is going to decay throughout the rest of the week, but I'm hoping I'll still be in the mid-80s and still in the top 100, which is all I can really hope for given the massive opportunity cost of not having that 0 stage Freya. I will not remember this tier very fondly at all. The pre-stacking combo points, the all too common sandbagging, and the breakpoint bosses are just not anything that's fun for anyone. It could have been a lot worse if Hodier and Vizax were not removed from All-Stars, but I just think it's weird that Freya was not removed on the discovery of the 0 phase strategy, which is seemingly only possible due to a glitch of Shadow Priest and Fury Warrior's anti-healing effects stacking on top of each other. Thankfully, Blizzard is removing pre-stacking combo points next phase, so we don't have to deal with that ever again. And if you're wondering why I don't just wait until next week when literally everything is locked in and I know my actual rank number, it's because I honestly don't really care what that number actually is. Regardless of my rank, I know I'm a good player, and my ego isn't super invested in this one little number on my screen, and I'm not looking to prove anything. I'm confident under different circumstances I could have performed better, and I'm looking forward to those in the future. Ultimately, there was still a lot of my power that I didn't take advantage of, specifically not glyph swapping for that last Mimron. I really regret that. At the end of the day, guys, it really do be like that sometimes. Sometimes you just don't have control over everything, and you can only really just do your best. Socrates said, "He who is not contented with what he has would not be contented with what he would like to have." And I would have liked to get a better parse than this. I wanted to have something to show off to the channel and to you guys, but overall, I can be content with this. There are much bigger and much worse problems to have, and playing this game is a luxury. It's also a marathon, not a sprint, and if you can't find a way to deal with the harsh times like this, then you won't be around for the better ones. TOC is like 4 bosses, and none of them really look all that horrifying. Most of them are like target dummies, and I'm really looking forward to slapping my keyboard and pumping the meters. So until next time, see you guys.